It's time to put the good in your morning. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, John Rahm skips a golf ball across the pond for an impressive hole-in-one.
Beautiful Thursday start, but the question is, well, where are we going to end the work week? Yeah, looks like some thunderstorm activity here by the time we hit the weekend. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And we're breaking down the symptoms of COVID-19, the flu, and the common cold. The KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 starts right now.
Thanks for joining us on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. A Utah man arrested at a traffic stop is accused of threatening former Missouri Senator Claire Mccaskill. George William Stahl was arrested by the Utah Highway Patrol Wednesday morning following a high-speed chase. The 26-year-old stands accused of making threats against the former Democratic senator. According to court documents, he threatened Mccaskill several times. Authorities say Stahl told them he was on his way to Missouri to kill her. Wednesday's chase reached speeds of 130 miles per hour. A spike strip was deployed to stop Stahl's vehicle. Stahl faces several charges, including threats of terrorism and failure to stop at the command of police. A Pittsburgh man files a complaint to the ADA against Freeman Hospital in Joplin after his daughter was allegedly asked to leave due to her service dog. Bob McLaughlin says he went to Freeman for surgery in August. His daughter Shannon traveled to Joplin from Idaho to help him because she holds his medical power of attorney. She also has a service dog to help her with a disability. McLaughlin says after the surgery, he was moved up to a room in the tower at Freeman. He says his daughter went up to see him and was told she could not have her service dog with her on that floor. Now both of them have filed a complaint with the ADA.
The lady comes out, she goes, actually, so you're not allowed up here? This floor is off limits to animals. And I said, okay, well, my dog is a working service dog. She's a medical alert dog. I am disabled according to the ADA.
We reached out to Freeman Hospital, which provided us with this statement saying Freeman Health System complies with the Americans with Disabilities Act and recognizes the valuable role service animals play in the lives of our patients and visitors. Freeman takes any concern or complaint regarding non-compliance with the ADA very seriously and is currently investigating this complaint. Freeman Hospital is changing its visitor policy. Starting this morning, patients will be allowed only one visitor per day. Freeman CEO Paula Baker explains there are some exceptions.
So they can have one visitor, but one visitor only for the day. Now, there are some exceptions. End of life will be an exception, pediatrics, the NICU. So there are some exceptions, and exceptions can be made also in special situations.
Baker says the changes are due to an increase in COVID-19 cases in the community. Joplin Health Department reports 6 more COVID-19 deaths. 5 of the patients were residents in long-term care facilities. Those include 2 men ages 90 and 94 and 3 women 73, 96, and 98. The 6th patient was a 90-year-old man. This brings the city total death count to 48 deaths. To get the latest COVID statistics from other areas of the 4 states, you can click on the link at the top of our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Missouri Southern announces it'll move back to online-only classes, and that starts after the Thanksgiving break. There are some exceptions for clinical and field-based learning. MSSU says if conditions allow, the university will return to face-to-face learning for the spring term. Pittsburgh State announced earlier it will also be returning to online learning after the Thanksgiving break. Pittsburgh State University held a virtual Veterans Day ceremony. The fact that it was virtual was not the only difference this year. The ceremony included 4 veterans who shared their experience in a documentary. Each veteran served at a different time, spanning back to World War II. Veterans Day ceremony is typically a time to educate local 6th graders on what the day is all about. This year, packets were sent to teachers with discussion points so they could still discuss the history with their students. Folks at Miami High School had a drive-through celebration rather than their usual Veterans Assembly. Active duty service members and veterans were able to drive up and get a boxed lunch. Well, Students showed their appreciation with signs and thank yous.
I want them to know that we still remember them, even if we can't have that face-to-face interaction, and we can still acknowledge everything that they've done for us.
School district also posted a video of students honoring service members to their social media pages. Well, Kansas City, Missouri's National World War I Museum celebrated Veterans Day with a special legacy jump. It featured an all-veteran parachute team with a veteran from each war, from World War II through the Afghanistan and Iraq wars. They landed on the iconic lawn of the Liberty Memorial. The oldest veteran on the jump team was 96-year-old World War II vet Peter Belskis. Former Navy SEAL and Purple Heart recipient Ryan Birdman Parrott led the team. The museum is also offering free admission to veterans and active duty military this week. Well, golfer John Ram sinks one of the most impressive hole-in-ones you're bound to ever see. Check this out. Okay, so as tradition, golfers try and skip the ball over the pond. Hole 16 of Augusta. But Ram had a little more in mind. Ram nailed a hole-in-one, his second one in 2 days. There it goes.
So much fun to watch.
Got to wait for it. It's coming. Ram said his 2 hole-in-ones means one of two things. He's about to do something special in Augusta, or he's running out of luck.
I'd never seen anything like it, ever.
I mean,
my best friend works at the Golf Channel, and he said that, you know, of all the golf he's ever watched, never, ever.
I really want to
Never
watch
seen
that
it
again.
go through somebody's
Here we
head.
go, here we go.
Hey, watch this.
So he's hit 2, and
Skipping stones, skipping
I mean-
balls.
He's never going to hit another one like that.
this is a historic.
Like, you can't train for this. There's just like, you can learn how to skip it across the water.
Right.
But to get it to land just right when it comes out.
No, it's a freak. It's a
pure
freak
luck.
occurrence.
Pure
It's
luck.
absolutely freak
Well,
occurrence.
because this
The
is a
perfect
pretty
angle,
famous
right?
hole
Boop.
at Augusta.
By the way, Jack just teed off.
Oh, they just kicked things off.
Yeah.
So what?
That's what I was doing while Tanya was reading Jack and Gary Player. They just teed off.
So what? Like, has anybody ever hit this shot other
That
than
is so
him?
good.
No, nobody's ever seen it. The creativity you have to be like, I can treat this like a rock.
Yeah, like,
Hey, golf ball ain't flat like a rock when you skip it.
And Augusta's different this year because they don't have the rope lines. So they said it's going to have an impact on the players because players are so used to having people around them and people. Right?
Now remember, this is the old par 3 hole-in-one tournament.
so my question is, why don't
This
they
wasn't-
just try to shoot it over the pond?
this
Why are they
isn't-
trying to,
oh.
why is he trying to skip it through the pond?
Because it's a par 3 hole-in-one tournament. It's for fun.
That was just
What,
for
this
fun.
weekend?
No, right there.
Oh, no,
Okay,
I'm talking
so
about this
He
weekend.
was trying to skip it across the water.
Yeah.
That was his goal.
Yeah.
But the fact that he was able to get a hole-in-one on top of it was just amazing.
It's ridiculous, is
Okay.
what it is.
'Cause
Freeman Health System Skycamera in Joplin. Now, by the way, the Masters has teed off. It's officially underway right now. 42 degrees, 38 for a wind chill, 36. This is temperatures, not wind chill. 36 in Pittsburgh, 35 in Independence. And a pair of 36s up in Fort Scott and Nevada. Speaking of Fort Scott and Nevada, that's where we're seeing a little bit of cloud cover that rolled in from the west right there. But really, you work down central and south, everybody's going to remain clear, as evidenced from outside of Television City, where we're off to a gorgeous, gorgeous Thursday morning start. Now, it is a little bit on the cool side, but by the time we get to the 9 a.m. hour, we're already working up into the 50s. Hey, we were just talking about Atlanta and the Augusta area. They actually are playing in a little mist right now at Augusta National. The majority of the rain dominating the mid-Atlantic. And we'll check in on Tropical Storm Ada in here in just a little bit because it did make landfall over North Florida earlier this morning and continues to track through the Sunshine State and will be in the Atlantic by the time we get to the afternoon hours. Back here in the 4 states, mid-60s. It's going to be absolutely delightful. Anything that we do see is going to be a light sprinkle along and south of I-44 for this evening. But the developments really begin on Friday. So we start off Friday very cold down to the southwest. Thunderstorm activity for Friday night all the way into Saturday morning. We're going to get some heavy rain, also some lightning with it as well. It'll clear off Saturday afternoon, get a good dose of sunshine on Sunday, even with the cooler temps, but a very nice end of the weekend and beginning of the next work week. Tanya and Jesse.
Up next, you could move to Northwest Arkansas and make some cash while doing it. We'll explain.
And that's a great tease. That sounds wonderful. And of course, we're going to break down the difference between symptoms of COVID-19, the common cold, and the flu. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be back with more after this.
One company is installing germ and virus-killing lights in Denver public school buses. The VioSafe lights can reportedly eliminate around 90% of airborne pathogens within a 12-foot radius. A rep from the McCandless Bus Center says they looked at ambulances using the tech and figured it could be applied to school buses. Denver schools say this is one more level of protection against COVID-19. About a dozen buses already have the lights installed. Well, a new study says vitamins have health benefits, but it could be mind over matter. Millions of people take multivitamin supplements, but researchers say the pills are tricking people into feeling healthier than they actually are. A study out of Harvard found 30% of adults taking vitamins reported better overall health than people who did not pop the pills. However, a medical history assessing dozens of physical and mental illnesses showed no actual health differences between the two groups. As concerns over the rising coronavirus cases continues to grow, many families question if they should gather around the Thanksgiving table this year, leaving many Americans asking if it is safe to travel. Chris Van Cleef has more.
AJ Dronkers hasn't seen his mother in over a year, but that's about to change.
We decided last minute, and I think that was part of weighing out all the risks, all the factors.
He's among the 56% of Americans planning to travel for Thanksgiving after he gets a COVID test.
I really let my family drive that decision on their comfort level. And every time I called, they said that they were perfectly comfortable. Also, the beauty of Southern California, we can eat outside.
Airlines are expecting their busiest stretch of the pandemic. United is adding 1,400 flights. American will fly more than 500 additional flights daily. But the number of travelers is expected to be far less than last year, and most will go by car. The Centers for Disease Control warns even small household gatherings are an important contributor to the rise in COVID-19 cases. The agency recommends getting a flu shot. Small gatherings outside, wearing a mask, and staying out of tight spaces like the kitchen.
When people get together indoors, eating, drinking, talking, shouting, singing, that's unfortunately how to spread a lot of COVID, especially when people are traveling around.
Former CDC Director Dr. Tom Frieden downsized his own family's Thanksgiving as COVID has surged.
Please be more careful around Thanksgiving so that we can have a Merry Christmas. Otherwise, there's a real chance that we're going to see explosive spread of COVID throughout December as a result of the Thanksgiving holidays.
CDC is encouraging people to limit gatherings to their own household or a small group of close contacts. Wear a mask when not eating. If you're indoors, open the windows to increase ventilation or consider a virtual Thanksgiving with family who are out of state. The Northwest Arkansas Council has pledged $1 million for a new initiative entitled Life Works Here. Now, the effort is to attract out-of-state remote workers to the area in the next 6 months. Ideal candidates are at least 24 years old with experience in science, tech, engineering, and math. On top of the $10,000, you'll also get a free bike or membership to an arts or cultural facility. According to the council, the region boasts the best living costs, plentiful outdoor lifestyle perks, nationally ranked arts, culture, and cuisine. The program does not offer any kind of employment.
This is really a unique incentive program right there. I haven't heard of any cities doing anything similar to that.
$10,000 and a bike. Can't beat that, right?
Especially the different array of things that they have, whether it be the bike or the membership to the arts and cultural opportunities. Yeah, that's pretty neat right there. All right, Tanya, here's where we stand outside of Television City. Gorgeous, gorgeous Thursday start. We've been talking about this past couple of days. Really between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. if you'd like the opportunity, and it'll be visible throughout the weekend as well. Locate the moon. Those are the guy wires from the KOAM tower. If you locate the moon, drop right down, you're going to see a real bright star. Well, that happens to be Venus. And like I said, it is just glowing bright as can be in the 4-state sky in the early morning. From the Freeman Health System sky camera in Joplin, we sit at 42 degrees. Do have a little bit of a wind chill there, so knock off 5-6 degrees as far as what you're seeing on these temperatures. So Chanute slipping below 40 degrees right there. Lamar, on the other hand, right back up to the even point. Anderson now at 37. On the bus stop forecast, they're going to need a coat this morning. But look, by the time we get to the 9 a.m. hour, we've already pushed up into the 50s. Skywatch Storm Tracker with that cloud cover up to the north, dry air mass, so no precipitation involved with it. And then just kind of sporadic cloud cover after that. We'll see the clouds kind of ebb and flow throughout the course of the day. Quick update from what we were just talking about. They actually called off the players from Augusta National Golf Course. So the Masters now in the midst of a rain delay after we were just saying that it had started and it was underway. Heavy rain throughout the mid-Atlantic up to the northeast, flash flood concerns. And speaking of flooding, Hurricane Ada, tropical storm Ada, when it made landfall technically, now in central North Florida as it produces winds of 45 miles per hour. They're going to have massive flooding concerns all throughout the course of Thursday. This thing's going to book it though. The two things about it. Number one, it's moving fast, which can be a good thing when it comes to potential flooding. But also too, notice it stays tropical storm force all the way across North Florida. So it's packing a punch. Here in the 4 states, let's be fortunate that we're going to be in the mid-60s, just a little bit warmer than what we'd anticipate for this time of year. Our developments come Friday evening. Anything we see today, light sprinkle south of I-44. But watch down bottom left-hand corner here. Friday evening, here comes the thunderstorm activity. Takes us from Friday night all the way into Saturday morning. Heavy rain, get some lightning with that, especially on the north side of I-44 right there. Kind of clears off Saturday afternoon, gets more sporadic and scattered. And temperature's not going to be too bad on Saturday. And then we'll clear off from west to east. Sunday morning, whole lot of sunshine, temps in the 50s, and sunshine throughout the beginning of next week. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. On the KOAM News Now Facebook page this morning and a part of our Insta poll, the Trump campaign is targeting Michigan for a new voter fraud lawsuit. Also allegations of voting irregularities in several other locations, and even the offer of an reward. One GOP elected officials put a reward out there for information about fraud. Eric Shawn has the lowdown. He's in Philadelphia.
As the vote counting continues, the Trump campaign presses forward with lawsuits seeking to challenge the election results. In Philadelphia, election officials push back against claims of voter fraud, saying there is no evidence of it, that they have checked each claim of a dead person voting and debunked it. And they say no illegal votes are being counted. That prompted President Trump to target one of the city's top election officials. He tweeted, quote, "A guy named Al Schmidt, a Philadelphia commissioner and so-called Republican, Rhino, is being used big time by the fake news media to explain how honest things were with respect to the election in Philadelphia. He refuses to look at a mountain of corruption and dishonesty. We win." But Schmidt has told me the vote counting is being done in a legal, transparent, and appropriate manner and is being tallied by the book. In Allegheny County, Pittsburgh, officials did count just over 2,000 votes, even though they arrived without a date, but did not count the same number of ballots, missing their secrecy envelope, the so-called naked ballots.
And that was ruled by the Supreme Court that we cannot count those. They will be set aside and not counted.
In a Trump campaign lawsuit challenging votes in Montgomery County, the judge asked a Trump campaign lawyer this, quote, "Are you claiming that there is any fraud in connection with these 592 disputed ballots?" The reply, to my knowledge, at present, no. In Texas, a bounty announced for voter fraud cases. Republican Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick says he will pay $25,000 for voter fraud tips that lead to the arrest and conviction of fraudsters. He says he has put aside $1 million for the rewards, his campaign coffers covering the cost that could spawn up to 40 cases. Patrick's office tells us they don't have any voter fraud cases yet because the cases are first referred to local law enforcement. But Texas has had some recent cases. In September, a Democratic county commissioner was charged in a mail-in voter fraud case. And just last week, a woman who works at a group home was charged with 134 counts of voter fraud for allegedly submitting the ballots of people who have been deemed mentally incompetent. They are ineligible to vote.
Sally gets our comments started with it may or may not change the outcome. However, it's important they at least look into allegations made by the over 200 people who signed affidavits in Pennsylvania under perjury of law detailing the types of fraud that occurred. Merle Bass says Democrat whistleblowers are coming forward with affidavits that care about the integrity of this election. Ken Tullis says there's no way for Trump to win. His lawsuits are frivolous and being thrown out. The money is faithful or sending him at least 60% of it, not going to his legal defense for legal actions, going to campaign bills. Hold on, Tom. I get to you. KOAM News Now Instapoll this morning. Do you think the Trump campaign lawsuits will change the outcome of the election? Right now, 57% of you saying no. We've seen this thing go back and forth all morning long. No. No, Tom, I don't want lawyers involved in the Instapoll. We'll be back right after this.
Pittsburgh State University, provided a reimagined experience for Veterans Day through a virtual ceremony. KOAM's Caitlin Shive spoke with one of the veterans involved about what it meant to be included.
Because of the pandemic, Pittsburgh State University went virtual this year for their Veterans Day ceremony.
Many of our alumni have fought and served this country. And so we wanted to kind of tap into that and have an opportunity to dig in a little bit deeper and talk to some of our local veterans, really spanning all the way back to World War II, all the way up to an individual who had been involved with more current conflicts.
The ceremony was a look into 4 veterans, Christopher Kimmick, Ron Sigley, Gene Corsini, and Louis Sacchetta, who all served at different times, sharing their experience in a documentary style. Sacchetta, who served in World War II from 1943 to 1946, was humbled to be included.
Well, I thought that would be quite an honor, which it ended up being. Very nice. It goes to show you that somebody's thinking about you.
He served in the Army as military police in Paris, France, a time he remembers well.
I ended up being a military police. I patrolled around the Eiffel Tower, Concord Street, the Champs-Élysées.
Veterans Day is something of great importance to him.
It's something unbelievable because that covers not just me, everybody. Wonderful.
The ceremony also included the ROTC Color Guard, PSU Choir, new pavers added to the memorial, and a message from the PSU president.
The ceremony gives those watching a deeper sense of the importance of Veterans Day and a deeper sense of the sacrifices that our veterans have put forward throughout their lives.
In Pittsburgh, Caitlin Shive, KOAM News.
Nice job, PSU. Well, the Veterans Day ceremony is typically a time to educate local 6th graders on what the day is all about. This year, packets were sent to teachers with discussion points so they could still discuss the history with their students. It's important to remember. And it's time to honor today's 4th State hero. Gary Maddox, a corporal in the United States Marines. He served in Platoon 285 during the Vietnam War, where he earned the Sharpshooter Medal and was a member of the military police. A native of Joplin, Missouri. We salute you, Gary Maddox, our 4th State hero. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:32. Let's take a look at today's top stories. A Utah man arrested at a traffic stop is accused of threatening former Missouri Senator Claire Mccaskill. George William Stahl was arrested by the Utah Highway Patrol Wednesday morning following a high-speed chase. The 26-year-old stands accused of making threats against the former Democratic senator. According to court documents, he threatened Mccaskill several times. Authorities say Stahl told them he was on his way to Missouri to kill her. Wednesday's chase reached speeds of 130 miles per hour. A spike strip was deployed to stop Stahl's vehicle. Stahl faces several charges, including threats of terrorism and failure to stop at the command of police. A Pittsburgh, Kansas man files a complaint to the ADA against Freeman Hospital in Joplin after his daughter was allegedly asked to leave due to her service dog. Bob McLaughlin says he went to Freeman for surgery in August. His daughter Shannon traveled to Joplin from Idaho to help him because she holds his medical power of attorney. She also has a service dog to help her with a disability. McLaughlin says after the surgery, he was moved up to a room in the tower at Freeman. He says his daughter went up to see him and was told she could not have her service dog with her on that floor. Now both of them have filed a complaint with the ADA. Missouri Southern announces it'll move back to online-only classes, and that starts after the Thanksgiving break. There are some exceptions for clinical and field-based learning. MSSU says if conditions allow, the university will return to face-to-face learning for the spring term. Pittsburgh State announced earlier it will also be returning to online learning after the Thanksgiving break. Tropical storm Ada pummels Florida's west coast from Fort Myers to Cedar Key as the storm makes landfall for the fourth time since forming more than a week ago, bringing with it torrential rain, tropical storm force wind, and a dangerous storm surge, flooding streets both up and down the coast. Ada made its first landfall in Central America last Tuesday as a Category 4 hurricane, leaving dozens dead and forcing tens of thousands of evacuations before slowly traveling north through Cuba.
Yeah, so we had our first landfall in Nicaragua, then over Cuba, then the Florida Keys, then backtracked to Cuba, and then early this morning, about 4 o'clock our time, fourth landfall on the west coast of Florida. Here's where it sits right now, Tanya. Still a tropical storm as it makes its way through north central Florida. It's moving at a good clip, which can sometimes be a good thing, but look at how it's able to maintain its force even as it pushes off into the Atlantic. And so all throughout the North Florida area, into Jacksonville, even up to the Carolinas, tropical storm warnings all the way into Sunday. Now we've got heavy rain and flooding along the mid-Atlantic up to the northeastern portion of the 4 states. Let's be fortunate that we're going to have a relatively quiet Thursday. A little cloud cover up to the north is actually broken up from what we had earlier in the morning, and beautiful blue skies not only outside the mothership, but a great shot of campus right there as the sun reflects off the buildings from the Freeman Health System sky camera. 42 degrees is where we stand. A little bit of a wind chill sitting at 38, 40 in Lamar, 39 in Chanute, and let's roll 42 in Neosho. Make it up into the mid-60s later on today. Now, 2 things in play here. Number 1, that's just going to be light rain. Don't worry about that. Sprinkles for the most part. Friday morning is going to be chilly. Get close to, if not a little bit below freezing. Now, Friday evening, that's when we begin to kick in thunderstorm activity from the southwest. Carries us through into Saturday morning. Heavy, heavy rain as it rolls through early in the morning. And also, too, we're going to see some thunder and hear some thunder, see some lightning associated with that. We'll be able to kick that out Saturday afternoon, and we'll still be in the 60s. And then to end the weekend and begin next week, we're talking about a whole bunch of sunshine. A little cool for Sunday and Monday, but then back into the 60s for Tuesday. Be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. KOAM News Now Facebook page this morning and our Insta poll asking if you think Trump campaign lawsuits will change the outcome of the election. We'll resume our comments with Dan Gilbert, who says, first of all, there's no president's been elected. The media is out of line calling Joe Biden president-elect. He has no right to any intelligence or access to the White House. Didn't Flynn get arrested and put in jail for communicating with Warren agencies before the election was decided? Oh, isn't that what Joe Biden's doing? Dan says, don't forget the computers in China. It's going to come out. Merle Bass says, state of Georgia doing a complete hand recount. Nothing to see here, folks. Kenny Kimmel says, of course not, as in it's not going to change. Biden beat him by the popular vote by 4 mil, surpasses the 2 mil that Hillary beat him by. He's just not a very popular person. Our morning Insta poll results right now, 57% saying no, you don't think lawsuits will change the outcome of the election. It's been extremely close all morning long. And you can vote by going to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Now it's time to check in with Jesse Irwin, Little Med Day Thursday.
Well, as it gets colder outside, it can be difficult to know whether, maybe some sniffles you have or other symptoms are a cold or something more. And this morning, we're joined by Jessica Liberty. She is the Infection Prevention and Control Manager at Freeman Hospital. And when it comes to breaking down the symptoms that we have, what's the first place that we should start if we start to feel not ourselves?
Yeah, I think the first step would be to call your primary physician if you have one, and just reach out to them and talk to them about the symptoms and go over when your symptoms started and the severity of your symptoms. And if you don't have access to a physician, then you could always call the physician referral line. There are lots of clinics in this area that can kind of walk you through that. You could also get on the CDC website. There's some great resources and summaries of the different types of symptoms that you would see for different respiratory illnesses that you commonly see during this time of year, including the symptoms of COVID-19.
So when I look at this list of symptoms, right, you've cough, fever, body ache, shortness of breath, headache, fatigue, sore throat, loss of taste. I mean, you know, there's all these different symptoms we could feel, and ultimately these symptoms don't just apply to these 4 potential diagnoses, but it's a lot more as well. And so which of these do you think is sort of the most common, and which of these might be the most telling as to what direction we might be heading?
Sure, absolutely. Well, a lot of the symptoms, you know, for our common cold and influenza and COVID kind of bleed into each other. There are obviously some very telling symptoms as it relates to the COVID-19 illness, like loss of taste and smell. Those 2 symptoms are symptoms you typically don't see with your common cold or influenza. When it comes to influenza and COVID, I feel like both of those 2 illnesses mirror each other the most. You know, you're more likely to see a fever with COVID and influenza. With common cold, you typically don't see a fever. You may have a runny nose with a common cold. You may or may not have that with influenza and COVID-19. And typically, influenza symptoms, you experience more body aches and you have the chills, and you may or may not have that with COVID-19. You typically don't see either one of those symptoms with your common cold.
All right, we're going to have this chart that Jessica's office has put together on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. It breaks down each of the symptoms for the cold, influenza, the norovirus, stomach bug, and of course COVID-19. We'll have that on our site. We'll be right back on the KOAM Morning News after this. Well, retail stores have struggled during the pandemic, but one clothing industry is seeing a rise in business. Chris Martinez reports.
A couple of miles from the high-priced stores on Beverly Hills Rodeo Drive, you'll find Crossroads Trading. The second-hand store lets shoppers like Johnny Ebram pick up fashionable items for a fraction of the original price.
Depending on what it is, you can get up to like 50 to 70% off.
The second-hand industry is getting a boost during the pandemic. It's not just shoppers looking for deals during a struggling economy. Thrift stores are receiving an increase in donations.
I think because of COVID, everyone's been stuck at the house, and so they're just kind of cleaning and organizing out their closets.
Online consignment store ThredUp has more people looking to sell their items and plenty of e-shoppers ready to buy them.
During the pandemic and the resulting economic crisis, value is still incredibly important to consumers.
Aaron Wallace is with ThredUp. The company's annual report predicts the secondhand apparel market will grow from $28 billion to $64 billion by 2024.
There's been a real rise in the interest in resale, primarily due to it being a far more sustainable choice for shoppers to make, and obviously the tremendous value. How are you?
Sustainability is a big reason Ebram buys previously owned clothes.
I have been able to sway a few friends over to like the green side, as I like to call it, because everyone's like, oh my God, I kind of see why you're so into this. It's been great.
He sees it as a win-win, keeping clothes out of a landfill while getting a great deal. Chris Martinez, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Well, TikTok is expected to reach 1.2 billion active users in 2021. That number is nearly triple the active users in 2018. This estimate coming from a new report from app analytics and market data website App Annie. Now, ByteDance, the Chinese parent company of TikTok, is also expected to generate more than $27 billion in advertising revenue by the end of 2020. In August, the app announced in a blog post that they have about 100 million active users here in the United States. Mountain Dew isn't just for gamer girls and e-athletes anymore, it's for culinary artists too. Mountain Dew releases the Big Bold Book of Mountain Dew Recipes. You might want to hold your breath for this one. The book will include more than 24 recipes, some made by fans of the drink, the brand releasing the book as a celebration ahead of its 80th anniversary. Among the dishes that you can whip up, you got green pancakes, green eggs and ham, salsa, Mountain Dew infused pickles, Mountain Dew slushies. I mean, the book will be available for a limited time only, maybe thank goodness, beginning on November 16th. We'll be right back with more after this, but let's check out our market prices before the opening bell. With it being Veterans Day week, 4-staters have been honoring past and present service members in a wide variety of ways. Our own Mike Mahoney introduces us to a 13-year-old from Girard who honors heroes with a set of bagpipes.
"13-year-old Orrin Weiss spent his Veterans Day in multiple southeast Kansas cemeteries doing the same thing, honoring our 4-state heroes with his rendition of Amazing Grace and taps.
It makes me feel very proud, and I would encourage people to do something similar if they can.
This young bagpipe player from Girard already has 3 years of experience, and he's also got a very proud grandmother who took him on his Veterans Day tour.
He's not that familiar with what the military does other than what he hears, and he's been very open to anything he can to honor the veterans.
And while his performances were for all veterans, Orrin did find time during one of his cemetery stops to honor his veteran great-grandfather, who's buried at the Garden of Memories Cemetery in Pittsburgh. After that, it was off to the PSU Veterans Memorial, and then back to Girard for one last set of performances, but not before giving KOAM viewers some parting advice.
If you have a veteran that you live just nearby, that lives nearby, I would just go and I would say thank you for your service. Thank you for everything you've done for me and all of our neighbors, and thank you just for everything.
In Crawford County, Kansas, Mike Mahoney, KOAM News.
This was Orrin's second year honoring fallen veterans with his bagpipes. He played Amazing Grace and taps at cemeteries all around southeast Kansas, including Arcadia, Mulberry, Pittsburgh, and in Girard. It's pretty cool stuff, Michael.
Yeah, I had the fortunate opportunity to meet that young man a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Just the amount of talent that he has. It's really cool to listen to him play. Really cool to watch him with the bagpipes as well. Jesse, this is kind of interesting here. Second day in a row, we're like, chilly start, got down to the freezing mark. Let's harken back to last year, because it was not only our November 11th record, it's our November 12th record. It was 11 degrees last year. All of a sudden, 32 doesn't seem too bad, does it? Live look from the Freeman Health System sky camera in Joplin, where we're sitting at 42. A little bit of a wind chill, 4-degree difference right there. These are actual temperatures, 37 in Oswego, 37 as well in Nevada, and 42 right now in Monette. Rain just dominating the mid-Atlantic all the way up to the northeastern portion of the United States as we check in on Tropical Storm Ada. Made landfall for the 4th time earlier this morning, still a tropical storm in north central Florida, eventually kicking out into the Atlantic, but you'll notice there's no slowing down as far as the icons go. It's able to maintain that tropical storm force. So all of a sudden, just the little clouds that we have in the 4 states are of absolutely no concern. I haven't seen any raindrop from them, and even if we do later on today, it's going to be a light sprinkle down south of I-44. Into the mid-60s, so a little bit warmer than what we normally anticipate this time of year, but I tell you what, overnight, it's going to be another cold one as we get close to or below the freezing point. As I mentioned, that's your light sprinkle for this evening. And really the big thing is going to be what develops here Friday evening. Bottom left-hand portion of your screen as the Gulf moisture works in, and a little bit of a collision course with a cold front. Now, Friday's going to be in the 50s during the afternoon hours, not too bad. But it's Friday evening into Saturday morning where we really pick up action. We're talking about some real heavy rain that works along and north of I-44. We're going to have thunder and lightning involved with that as well. Now, as we work through Saturday morning, our rain begins to clear off to the east. We get more of the scattered variety. It does kind of stick around, though, through mid-morning hours. Then we begin to clear off to the west. And so by the time we get into Saturday evening, you'll get a peak of sunshine out here. You're going to have to wait for the east. But as those clouds move off, we're going to have a gorgeous Sunday. A whole lot of sunshine, temperatures in the 50s, and we'll be able to ride that sun all the way into the middle of next week. We'll be back and wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. President-elect Joe Biden made his first White House appointment on Wednesday night, hiring Ron Klain to be his chief of staff. Klain held the same role under Biden at the start of his vice presidency. 59-year-old also served as President Obama's Ebola czar, overseeing the federal response to the outbreak that began in 2014. President Trump still has not conceded the election to Mr. Biden. The president observed Veterans Day at Arlington National Cemetery on Wednesday, making his first public appearance since the race was called. President Trump's legal team continues to pursue claims of voter fraud, in several states, including Georgia. Election officials there plan to recount all of the ballots by hand. Public health experts are again sounding the alarm about the coronavirus, warning that it's spreading too fast to control. On Wednesday, more than 65,000 people were hospitalized with COVID-19 in the U.S., the highest total since April. The country's death toll is climbing along with the number of infections. Let's check in with Michael with a final look at your forecast.
Day planner with some increased cloud cover through the afternoon. Any rain that we do see is going to be light sprinkles down to the south. Highs in the mid-60s, so it's going to be pretty delightful as we look outside the mothership one last time. Now Friday morning, going to be chilly, down around the freezing mark. Friday evening, thunderstorms that carry us all the way through Saturday morning. Then we clear off and get a good dose of sunshine to end the weekend and begin next week.
Well, more than 2,400 pictures taken during the height of NASA's space program are up for auction. Voyage to Another World collection at Christie's in London captures various Apollo missions and other historic ventures during the 1950s through the 1970s. One small step for mankind is one big ticket item for the auction house, a rare photograph of Neil Armstrong on the moon. It's expected to fetch the equivalent of about $39,000. It's a pricey photo.
Jeez.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, hey, thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning.
Be back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.